you heard about Z?
Easy.
𝐊𝐿𝐴
Easy.
Mobile banking. Crazy.
Education loans and salary advances.
Amazing.
Introducing the Digital Youth Account. NDBZ. NDBZ from NDB Bank. The future is banking on us.
Creamy richness redefined. Smooth, soft, spreadable. Introducing Ultra Soft Fondue with canola and sunflower oil.
We search the world for the finest things for you. Things like sun-kissed European berries, rich chocolate from the world's best cocoa fields, and crisp cashews and fluffy marshmallows in a quirky Australian recipe.
𝐊𝐿𝐴, experience the world.
හැමදේම අතළඟ තියෙද්දි දුක් විඳින්නේ ඇයි?
Hey, have you heard about Z?
Easy.
𝐊𝐴
Easy.
Mobile banking. Crazy.
Education loans and salary advances.
Amazing.
Introducing the Digital Youth Account. NDBZ. NDBZ from NDB Bank. The future is banking on us.
Creamy richness redefined. Smooth, soft, spreadable. Introducing Ultra Soft Fondue with canola and sunflower oil.
We search the world for the finest things for you. Things like sun-kissed European berries, rich chocolate from the world's best cocoa fields, and crisp cashews and fluffy marshmallows in a quirky Australian recipe.
𝐊𝐴, experience the world.
හැමදේම අතළඟ තියෙද්දි දුක් විඳින්නේ ඇයි?
Hey, have you heard about Z?
ZZ.
𝐊𝐿𝐴𝐵𝐴𝐶.
Easy.
Mobile banking. Crazy.
Education loans and salary advances.
Amazing.
Introducing the Digital Youth Account. NDBZ. NDBZ from NDB Bank. The future is banking on us.
Creamy richness redefined.
Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. We are back with the Rugby Show, of course, with the one and only Boa Athu. After a week of no rugby action, no schools rugby, we are finally back. We had an absolute cracker of a match today. And I know a lot of you might be hoping that we talk about what happened in the past few weeks, but instead of what happened in the past, let's focus on the future, because we need to move on. We need to make sure that these boys, that all the hard work that they put behind the scenes are shown on the field as well. We had an absolute cracker of a match when Wesley took on Royal. It was a close first half, but Royal obviously running away with the points in the second half, with the final score on the scoreboard being 14-27. From start to end, it was a match filled with penalties, a lot of drama. Boa, what do you think about this match?
Oh, first of all, a very good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. A lot of messages this week from people from all four corners of the globe with all the drama last weekend. Hopefully it's sort of sorted out. We'll talk about that later. Yeah, look, it was a high penalty count. It was pretty stop-start. And I have to say, I'm very impressed with Wesley that first half. Very proud of you, Wesley. You took my advice. You took the points. You stayed in the hand, built scoreboard pressure. Halftime it was only 1 point. But then second half, obviously, Royal, that superior fitness, the strength and conditioning, and of course, that ability to put phases together. As soon as they got phases together and they, entered into the opposition 22, the points started coming in. And of course, they too decided to take a few shots at goal that told me that they respected what was in front and they respected what Wesley was bringing to the game. So look, it was a bit of a penalty fest, really, and I think Wesley will be disappointed they didn't make more of this game. That's the way the cookie crumbles, and against a team like Royal, you don't give them any opportunity. I thought they gift wrapped a few opportunities. They were very erratic around the ruck. They were very poor, in fact, their discipline. They were just going over the top, and they weren't sort of holding their body weight. They had hands on the ruck all the time. I thought the referee was sometimes within his rights to blow the penalty, obviously, but it's just those are the things you really need to talk to the players, and also the captain needs to talk to the referee and sort it out. But overall, I think Royal will be happy just to get the win. And I think that off week sort of gave them a few rusty cobwebs. But yeah, it is what it is. Disappointing for Wesley, but Royal will be breathing a sigh of relief.
Yes, you said it was definitely a penalty fest right from the get-go. Do you think that's a technical issue? Do you think that's a problem with their age? How do you think these both teams, not only these two teams, but all the teams who are playing in this schools rugby league, can learn from this match and make sure that the next coming weeks they don't concede as many penalties?
Yeah, no question. I think it's a coaching aspect, because if you look at how they enter the ruck and where they finish in the ruck, they can see it. They kind of dive in like a dolphin. How the dolphin comes out of the water and then goes over and then dives in. That's where the problem is. They don't actually control their body weight, or they go off their feet very easy and they keep hands on the floor. Now, of course, this is a bit of a contentious thing, because if there's no consequence to what's happening in front and you're not impeding the would-be defenders or the jacklers, then to me it's just play on. But again, you've got to try and keep the head slightly above your hips, and then enter into the ruck, so you're sort of in that slight inclined position, and then you're staying on your feet. I'll probably share a few clips on the Facebook group later this week. I coach a technique called taking space. So we clean hard and maybe, go about a meter past the ruck, which is perfectly legal. But again, you got to stay on your feet, and you got to try and take out bodies from the opposition. It's a very simple technique, but it needs to be coached properly. And of course, you got to practice it. So you're 100% correct, my friend. It's a technical issue. You've got to coach yourself, in a legal and correct manner around the breakdown. They got to get it sorted out. Otherwise, this is going to plague Wesley big time, and they're going to have a very, very sad season.
Now, I don't know I'm pretty sure all of you logged in and watched the live stream through Papare. The crowd was there, the stadium was packed, and it's pretty evident that the fans want their rugger action. And after a week of no rugby, it's very clear. Oh, how do you think the fans turned up, and how do you think the fans are going to show up this coming weekend as well?
There'll be no shortage of fans. I think everyone had withdrawal symptoms, like the addict trying to come off the. I know that I love to say that word. The recreational substances. There you go. No. Look, this weekend there's been a lot of anxious people, and I'm just glad that a bit of common sense has prevailed. And we've got rugby, and watching the live stream straight after the game, I saw there was a small army of security personnel running onto the field, trying to get around the referees, which is good, because we have to ensure that there is safety and security for these referees. They feel safe, and it's a host responsibility. So, all in all, it's good. Great to have the rugby back. What can I say? Let's get it on.
Let's get it on. That's it. Now, we'll hopefully be joined by someone from 𝐊𝐴𝐵 so that we can get a closer look at what the match was like. But for now, let me give you a quick update. Final score on the scoreboard was Royal College beating Wesley College with 27-14 points. Now, tomorrow we have an absolute cracker-packed day of rugby. First up, we have the Green Machine taking on the Lions from Kandy. 𝐶𝑃 College taking on Trinity College for the 39th time in their histories. The match being played after a lapse of 5 years. We know that this match is a must-win for Trinity. If they have any hope of moving on to the super round, 𝐶𝑃 obviously on top of that points table. What are your thoughts on this match?
Yeah, I'd be very interested to see how the off week, or the week off last 7 days, how that's going to affect the form line, more so for Trinity, because if you recall last week, I was critiquing the form line, saying it was a yo-yo form line. It's like a heartbeat monitor. 1 week it goes up, the next week goes down, goes up. So based on that, you look at the previous form line, and they're in for probably a bit of a dip. But I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong for the sake of the Trinity fans. As far as Green Machine goes, look, their last game, they just seem to be threatening or bubbling under, wanting to explode, and they've been very much under the radar this season, how they've started. They've fired a few shots. I think the key playmaker is obviously 𝐷𝐿𝐴𝐵. Cut a little clip on some of his passes, his ability to shift that ball nice and, flat, fast, torpedo passes, a swing of the hips, the follow through, outstanding technique from the young man. So if he gets into the game nice and early, I think it's going to be trouble for Trinity, because, they've been a little bit suspect around the edges when they defend it. And Trinity, on the other hand, I think they just need to back themselves, and they look really good when they get lateral attack, of strike moves. By that I mean of scrums, particularly on the right-hand edge in the opposition sort of 30, 40 meter mark. They've got, there's some nice passes. And of course, the key man, I think the key battle here is going to be between the Trinity skipper, 𝐴nuhas, and of course, the 𝐭𝐵𝐴𝐻 playmaker, 𝐸𝐿𝐴𝐻. So I think depending on who wins that battle, who gets front foot, there's going to be a tilt. But I think overall, Trinity, they've been a bit sluggish, and I'm fully expecting 𝐭𝐵𝐴𝐻, with a bit of a struggle, a few anxious moments here and there, they should get home. That's going to be my prediction for tomorrow.
Boa, you said this past off week is going to be crucial to how the teams play this week and the weeks to come. If you were a coach and you were in that position, what would you focus on? What would you talk to your team and try to focus on this past week?
Yeah, look, it's getting your rhythm and making sure that you don't make any errors and invite the game into the opposition. Play the game in the right part of the field, so that's opposition 22. And of course, I keep saying this every week. Wesley took my advice for the first half, and then of course it fell apart. When you get the opportunity, take the points. Always take the points, build scoreboard pressure. And of course, with that off week, this is first 15 schoolboy competition, so they'll probably struggle a little bit with their fitness. So whenever you take the points, it's a break in play. You can get some water, you get some messages, you can reset a little bit. So you've got to be very tactical. You've got to be intelligent on how you manage your time, your resources. Just build pressure, take your opportunities, put phases together. Now, today we saw Royal, they were very erratic in that first half. It was actually, if I was a coach, I'd be a little bit embarrassed because they was really poor. They made a lot of mistakes. But soon as they got the act together, they put some phases together, one more phase, all of a sudden the gap started opening up. So it's just all about building pressure, converting that pressure into points. And I'll say this again, don't forget to take the points. That's the key.
You can log in any week you want, and that's one thing you'll hear every week. Go for the points. Now, you said 𝐴nuhas Korithuaku, the captain of Trinity College, is going to be crucial in tomorrow's match. What do you think he is telling his team as they go down to Colombo today? What do you think that conversation is like? What do you think Coach Fazil Marija is telling his team? Because they are in a crucial point in this season. They need this victory. If not, it's game over. What do you think is going on in their heads?
I think start well and get some confidence. Trinity are very much a confidence team. The body language, if it's confident, I think they look like they're going to score points. And of course, you got to enjoy what you're doing, and every single time you see Trinity scoring and putting points on the board, have a look at their body language after they score. It's all high fives and they're very expressive. And soon after the restart, they get back into that nice attacking shape. So for me, it's actually understanding what's in front, playing what's in front, start well, enjoy what you're doing, get your confidence, and then, just leave it out all on the field. So hopefully Trinity can do that. But of course, it's a tough ask because they've got to come down to Colombo. And Trinity, if you look at their form line, they're not the greatest team on the road. They travel, I wouldn't say they travel poor, but it's just that, it's difficult, because you got to come down, you got to play in, I wouldn't say unfamiliar territory, but, playing 𝐭𝐵𝐴𝐻 at the park, it's always a challenge, even for the best of sides. So, I'd really focus on starting well. And of course, Coach Marija, he needs to really inspire these boys. I think there's a little bit of a gap there. And if anyone can do it, it is him, because obviously as a player, very decorated, he understands what it takes to win championships. So he's got to draw a little bit on his experience and see if he can really inspire these kids. And if he does that, I think they'll start really well.
So tomorrow you can watch when the Green Machine, 𝐭𝐵𝐴𝐻 College, takes on Trinity College for the 39th time at Havelock Park. another match we have tomorrow happening at the St. Thomas's ground is when STC Mount Lavinia takes on DS Senanayaka. Now, both these teams coming off victories this 2 weeks ago. We know that DS is right on the top along with Isit Patana. They've shown formidable, they've shown amazing teamwork, they've shown amazing skill these past few weeks. STC in the middle of the point table at this point. What do you think this match is going to be like tomorrow?
Yeah, again, they've got to start well. I think all the teams which are struggling, they just haven't started well. And it's a confidence thing. And they've just got to look to put some phases together. That's the most important thing. Most of these teams are kind of on struggle street. It's just that they're not starting well. They're inviting the opposition. They're conceding a few points and the body language goes down. So they've just really got to talk about this. And if I was a coach, and I know the coaching staff will be working on this, is that, cut down on the errors, back yourselves, trust the process, trust everything they've done at training, and just go out there and do it. Now, the challenge is, of course, saying this is quite easy, which is pretty obvious. But as a coach, how do you inspire your troops to do it on the field? And that's always the challenge. And that's what good coaches do. So STC coaches, if you're listening, get you guys to start well. And once they get a bit of rhythm, put some phases together. Don't cough up the ball. Don't give away, silly turnovers like knock-ons and forward passes, and just, offload when the offload is not on. You'd rather go to ground, just set up a ruck, put another phase together. So just stick to your basics. And once you start feeling the ball, putting some phases together, starting to get into some hits, I think things will fall into place. So stay patient, stay in the hunt, and most importantly, trust yourself.
Now, we all know what happened 2 weeks ago, STC versus Science College. I'm sure STC being at the place, at the match, they must have gone through a pretty traumatic experience of the whole ordeal. How do you think they can move on from that and make sure that they don't carry that forward? They play the sport they love. They play the sport that they play so well. And how do you think that can translate tomorrow and in the weeks to come?
Well, interestingly, you ask that. I think the people or the person or the team which has actually been forgotten in this whole saga was in fact STC. Everyone was talking about Science and, obviously the violence by, a few idiots who have rightly been singled out and named. And, well, hopefully we see the long arm of the law apply to them, and, there's got to be action there. But that's a separate matter. But as far as St. Thomas's go, yeah, they seem to have been kind of lost in this whole thing. As far as, they were part and parcel of this whole thing. And hopefully, most of their players, hopefully none of them actually got caught up in this from what I learned and hear. That wasn't the case. So they just got to put that back. And the reality is they won that game. So they've got the W. Okay, so they got to think about all the good things they've done, move forward. And like I said, minimize those mistakes, trust what they do. And if you get the opportunity, take the points. Simple game.
That was about the past. Let's talk a bit about the present. I think we have Tehran and Tanveer live from Havelock's. I hope you guys can hear me.
Hi everyone, so I'm with Tehran right now at Havelock Sports Club, and it was a very shaky game today at Havelock's ground, where the first half score was 7-6 with Royal College leading, and the match finished with a score of 14 points, 27. Royal winning this match. After an impressive first half from Wesley, Royal managed to gain everything back. Gain the victory back in second half, which was amazing. It was a brilliant match. Both teams played well, a super fight against two Warriors teams. Double Blues taking on the Tuskers. Tanveer? Yes, of course. It was a splendid match, but again, countless mistakes made by both sides. A bit rushed, if you ask me. And it could have been played much, much better from both teams as well. a lot of handling errors and penalties were considered by Royal College and Wesley College, and for that reason. And Wesley scoring all their points from penalties, and at the last moment scored a try as well. And the start was a bit of a scare as well, where Wesley College almost scored a try with their rolling maul, but unfortunately it was held up because of the Royal Pack as well. So all in all, the weather conditions, it was very, very warm, even though it wasn't that sunny. So I think that was a factor as well for Wesley College to score all their points through the penalties in the first half, to not tire themselves as much, to attack in the second half, like learning their mistakes in the St. Peter's game. So I do not know what else to say, because it was a very shaky game, to be honest. While two, like Tehran said, the champion sides could have played much, much better. But that is what we had to witness today.
Yeah, as Boa mentions, putting on the scoreboard pressure, Boa, if you remember, with I think with Science College game. So Wesley College did the same thing what you said, Boa. Scoreboard pressure right from the beginning. From the penalties that were given to Wesley's side from Royal, Wesley just kept scoring the penalties. Like they didn't want to try even scoring a try. They just want to keep scoreboard pressure, like Boa said. But unfortunately, second half it was Royal's game. Royal somehow came back with a proper mentality, and like Tanvi said, so many mistakes, a lot of penalties, and 2 injuries also from both sides. One concussion here, and as well as right towards the second half at the end. Yeah, but it's just a slow words. Me and Tanvir are here like shocked. We are wondering, like, was this match brilliant? It was a brilliant match today.
So
I've actually got a question. I've got a question.
Yeah.
What did it look like at ground level? What was the intensity and the physicality like, particularly at the breakdown? Because there's a lot of mistakes and penalties. I'm just keen to know.
There were a lot of mistakes and penalties, but it was a very, very physical game, if you ask me. Both sides were getting very physical. There were 3 yellow cards considered as well during the match. And it was a very physical and contested game where Wesley was keeping on counter-attacking with their kicks, counter-rucking. So many stuff done by Wesley College.
Yeah.
But College emerged the champions.
Yeah.
And just to add to Tehran's point as well, yes, they tried. They did all their best to score points at the start. Did everything.
Yeah, they could basically, yeah. So basically scoreboard pressure. This basic scoreboard pressure from Wesley's end. Royal, they want to keep scoring, like from the Royal Mall, from the line. At some point, Wesley tried to contest the Royal Mall, but were unable to slightly. But then this both teams at the end, they were just tired. They were like, energy levels were low. That Wesley kept pushing harder. Royal kept defending right here for about a good 5 minutes. Wesley kept attacking in the last 5 minutes. Royal defending. It was a massive, impressive game. Very tiring from both sides. It was just intense rugby, boy. Intense rugby, yeah. After a very long time, after that break given from the referees board, after that huge 1 week of break, both teams, it was intense rugby after such a long week.
Yes, and after that, in the second
What were
half,
the crowds like?
the grounds, like I said,
The crowd's hungry.
the crowd. Sorry, the crowd it wasn't that full, to be honest. It was mid, to be honest, because let me just show you. So that side of the pavilion was a bit full at the moment, but the side that we are sitting on right now wasn't that full.
Yeah.
Because I think maybe it's the heat and it's the working day as well. So that also played a role in the crowd form, and that was not a lot of how can I say, cheering as much, because 𝐊𝐴𝐴𝐿𝐴𝐿𝐴𝐿𝐴𝐿𝐴𝐿 ground is quite a big ground. And so I would say the crowd wasn't as much as we expected it to be. But just to add again to Tehran's point, the second half, Wesley was still counter-attacking and playing such a good game until Royal College found their momentum. And as we have seen in the past 2 games of Royal, the moment that they find their momentum, the moment that they get their moment to score is when they start to shine. So I am very glad finally at the final few, when the second half started, that they got the opportunities and they scored and they how can I say it, executed it. But unfortunately, again, they could not get the bonus point. There was a small blunder in the last moments that they had the ball in the 5 meter. And yes, that is all I would like to say. And Wesley, well done. Good game, good physicality, good defense, good attack, kicking game on point, penalties on point. The maul, the starting maul and the defense, that was on point. So unfortunately, bad luck for them. And I wish them all the best for the season and Royal College as well. And Tehran?
Basically, yes. Let's just say this was one of the biggest nail-biting matches after 1 week of vacation given by the referees board. This was a nail-biting match, I would say. And me and Tan were basically in the crowds. We were in the middle of everything happening. The cheering, the war cries, the zam zam zakes from the Rubber Blues, the Royal war cry was just so intense. I could still play in my head how the crowds were like. Such a nail-biting match, and especially during the first half with that score 6-7, that was intense from the crowd, especially from the players and the crowd. And like I said, like Tanvi said, all the best to Wesley on the upcoming matches and to Royal. Let's just hope and see what this season's going to turn out to be. Any other questions, boy, you have?
No, I think you guys are doing an amazing job. You probably be able to do my job a lot sooner than I'm anticipating. So fantastic. Thank you so much. Brilliant coverage. I think you guys gave the audience a very animated breakdown of what the game was. And even though I wasn't physically at the game, I feel like I was watching from the sideline. So fantastic work, lads. Absolutely love it.
Thanks, boy.
Thanks, boy. Thank you.
Bassa, any other questions?
No, I think that's it for now. We do actually have a question from our Facebook Live. We have Lankan Sports Junkies once again on the live chat here with us asking, I would like to check the first disallowed try. I believe there is a mall collapse, isn't it? Your thoughts? I think both Boa and the duo from 𝐊𝐴𝐵𝐿𝐼𝐶 can give their input on this.
Yeah, look, guys, without seeing conclusive footage of grounding, it's very difficult to avoid or disallow a try. So for me, if a try is scored and the on-field call, if the referee sees like there's conclusive footage of a grounding, it's got to be a try. So if he probably wasn't, unsighted. And of course, we didn't have any audio from the referee and the assistant referee. So if we knew what they were talking about, what the question they were asking, then I could probably give some further direction. I didn't see any grounding because it was a big mess of bodies. Well, did you boys have any direct view of that? Maybe you could.
No, from there, I was sitting on the right-hand side corner where the scoreboard is in 𝐊𝐴𝐵𝐿𝐼 Sports Club. So I was sitting there.
Mall happened right opposite.
Opposite. So it happened in the left side corner where the small entrance is from, the 500 rupee ticket stand, that entrance. The try was right there, and we saw Wesley College passing the try line. But there, we didn't see any clear grounding of the ball anywhere. And there was no clear place of where the ball was. And the referee I saw the referee go around the mall to see if there was any landing or planting or whatever, but he could not see anything as well.
Yeah, at this point, but this is where the sideline referees come to play. This is where they should be on alert because as Ravin Anderson, as he was trying difficult to find the clear ground. So it's a job of the sideline referees from the corner, line out corners to find out where the ball was grounded because that was a crucial maul. That mall that clash was very crucial. It was actually another nail-bite incident where Wesley was trying to score. Like Tanvi said, it was very invisible from where we were. It happened towards the corner where we were on the opposite side.
So that is our answer for the question. But all in all, if that was a allowed try, I would say this game would have turned in a very different way. In a very different way. And fortunate for Royal that it was not allowed. And unfortunate for Wesley that there was no sighting of any planting.
Yeah, look, if I was a referee, I'd be avoiding every try. So thank goodness I'm not a referee, and that would cause absolute havoc. But bottom line is, without conclusive footage of a grounding, you can't avoid a try, and it would be very irresponsible to speculate. But anyway, that's just how the cookie crumbles. I felt Wesley was a little bit unlucky. They dominated certain parts. One good example was the kicking battle, the back and forth. I thought they kicked really well. The turning point I felt was the 19th minute. Royal pulled out a 50-22. It was brilliant 50-22. But then they couldn't control the line out. Now, had they controlled the line out and gone over with a fishtail driving ball, we could have had a real blowout. But Wesley contested it. They got the ball back. So, they put up a very decent fight, I thought. But it's just that breakdown discipline was horrible. The second week running, every single time they went into a ruck, they just kept coughing up a penalty. So I think that needs to be really addressed. So anyone from Wesley, coaching staff, if you're watching, you've just got to make sure you practice this and see if you can clean maybe a meter past the ruck and stay on your feet. And also from a captain's point of view, I know these are schoolboys, hopefully you take this in the right spirit. If you're being continually penalized, talk to the referee, ask him, what are we doing wrong, and get in his mind and try and make a point to him that you're trying to do everything to rectify this. And conversely, with the referee needs to talk to these kids and say, look, this is what you're doing. You need to sort it out rather than just continually, blow the whistle. But that's really up to the referees and players to sort out in the middle of the field. And we would have gotten a better understanding if there was audio. There wasn't, so it is what it is.
All in all, the referee Alexander did a good job, but no one is perfect. A lot of banter there was on the Wesley and Royal College sides, but that always is the case for any match, as we learned from 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So
at the end, it was a solid match, nail-biting. My apologies. Nail-biting match. Well done to both the teams for their efforts, and well done to the referee also for not causing any more problems from that 1 week. But Bas, I have any more questions before we go any further?
No, I think we're all good. Thank you, Teran. Thank you, Tanveer, for giving us a very live and very animated update all the way from Havelocks. Thank you, guys.
we'll see you, Boa, and we will meet up soon. See you all next week.
Thank you, gentlemen. Fantastic work. Love it.
Beautiful.
Well, there you go.
Now, another match that we have. Outstanding coverage by our boys here from Quadrangle, definitely. Now, tomorrow, we have another match, one of the most.
Better start calling them 𝐷𝑒𝐿𝐴 and 𝐻𝐿, yeah.
I like the sound of it. We'll see what they think about it later on.
Yeah.
Now, tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, we have another absolute cracker of a match. Probably one of the biggest matches we have this weekend. We have the battle of the saintly brothers. St. Peter's College taking on St. Joseph's College for the Reverend Father Basil Veeratunga Trophy. Absolute amazing lineup we have tomorrow. Now, we know SPC, St. Peter's College, obviously the favorites to win this in a lot of the spectators' minds. But St. Joseph's College also have had a few highs this season, obviously a few lows. What do you think this match is going to turn out like, Boa?
Yeah, I think, look, St. Peter's will want to continue the momentum they've been building. Bit unfortunate that there was a disruption in play, but there's not a lot you can do. And I feel the disruption actually worked in St. Peter's favor because obviously they would have played 𝐕𝐵𝐴𝐴𝐻 last week. And particularly in 𝐕𝐵𝐴𝐻, it's a tricky assignment. So I think I wouldn't say they dodged a bullet because it's obviously not their doing, but I think this will work in their favor because they're a team who have very high standards, obviously, coached by a very, very smart operator in Martis. They will want to keep the momentum going, and I would suspect they will play a very similar game plan to that of the Wesley game. They'll want to cause chaos. They'll want to try and force the game into broken play. They'll want to attack from everywhere. They want to basically play it at pace because St. Joseph, they do have a very good competitive, pretty solid and physical forward pack, and they'll try to, set up some phases and look to put some momentum and try and bust through the middle. So I think it's going to be a case where St. Joseph's will look to attack through the middle, whereas St. Peter's, they'll look to exploit the edges because they've got some very skilled, fast players. So that's the way I see it going. We'll see how this break is going to affect both teams because clearly we saw today in the Wesley v Royal game, both teams struggle because this is what happens with form lines. The reality is at this age grade, because you only play 70 minutes and there's a lot of stop-start nature, you've got to play rugby. You've got to play rugby. You've got to be in the game. You've got to get that contact fitness going. You've got to have your mind in the game. So as soon as you have a little bit of a break, you kind of take the foot off the pedal. You get into that cruise mode, which is what I think plagued Royal today. So tomorrow, hopefully, that is not the case. And we see an exciting game. And of course, with these derby games, there's no love lost. everyone wants to get one on top of each other. So I think let's just hope that it's going to be a very exciting, highly skilled game where both teams will throw punch after punch, not literally, of course, and we see a high-scoring, high-octane thriller, which will be decided, hopefully, the very last play. So there you go.
So tomorrow you have to look forward to when St. Peter's College Colombo hosts St. Joseph's College for the Reverend Father Basil Veeratunga Trophy, happening 3:45 p.m. onwards tomorrow. Another match that we have this weekend is when Zahira College takes on the Tigers, Vidyartha College Kandy. I think Vidyartha has been flying under the radar. They are a threat. They're going out, they're getting their missions accomplished, they're doing what they need to do. How do you think that match is going to turn out, Boa?
Yeah, certainly they're the noisy kid in the room. They're very bullish, very confident. I absolutely love watching them play and absolutely love their confidence. Bit unfortunate that they missed out last week, because I thought that form line, particularly after putting 50 points on Kingswood, they were getting ready to take on the favorite in St. Peter's. But again, not their doing. Unfortunate. For me, clear favorite tomorrow. I think they will enjoy what Zahira bring as well, because last game, Zahira, when they played Royal, I felt that Zahira overplayed far too much in their own half, and they played right into the hands of Royal. Whereas with Vidyartha very good moving the ball side to side, edge to edge. They have some skilled forwards who can, play like backs. And of course, the playmaker, Guyan Pereira, runs some fantastic lines. So tomorrow, I'm fully expecting him, beg your pardon, to make some solid line breaks, carve up that midfield. He'll be bending the line, lots of line busts, lots of tackle busts, lots of meters. And I think he'll be the provider to some very quality players on either side of the edge. And the way I see it, I think, Zahira will fire some shots as well. We know they're a very capable side, but they've got to get their game plan right. You can't overplay and tire yourself out. You've got to be smart when you're playing a team like the Tigers from Vidyartha. So the way I see it, I think Vidyartha, in an interesting game, should get home with some degree of comfort.
Yes, tomorrow we have another do or die match. When Kingswood College takes on Thurston College, obviously this time, both teams are in a position of being relegated to the lower segment. That is not a place anyone would want to be in. One, Kingswood being the oldest school in Sri Lanka to play the sport. They introduced the sport in schools level. Thurston, just coming up this segment this year, I'm sure they wouldn't want to go back. So, Bo, what do you think Kingswood, what do you think Thurston can do to make sure that they remain at this level?
Yeah, I know. Look, tough for Thurston, because coming into the A division, it's a different ball game, and there's a good old saying: you learn from your failure. So the way Thurston have been going, I'm sure they've got an encyclopedia of knowledge at the moment. But unfortunately, they're taking a little bit of damage as things go, because it's not ideal when you get these scores put on them. Now for Kingswood, it's not like they've been having a bed of roses as well. Things have been pretty dour. They haven't won a game. I can't remember when they last actually won a game. So this is their opportunity. So they'll be relishing this. And, I saw a few memes flying around as well. And I never take these memes too seriously, because they're lighthearted. And it's just very appropriate that two teams on struggle street. So this might actually turn out to be one very competitive game. And I think both teams will want to fire shots at each other. And we know Thurston have been keen on taking the points. Again, another team, Coach Colin, a very smart operator. He's got a bit of a challenge. So they'll be looking to upset the script as well. So for Kingswood, there's no better opportunity than getting a win long last. But at the same time, don't discard Thurston, because they could come up with a bit of a surprise. On paper, obviously, the A division team should go on to win, but maybe there might be a few anxious moments, and we might be in for one heck of a game.
So, another match we have two schools from Kandy. Dharmaraj College taking on St. Anthony's College. We know St. Anthony's College had a pretty stand-out season last year. They had a few amazing matches. They won a few shields here and there. But this year, it's not the same. They too face the possibility of being relegated down to the lower segment. Again, that's not a position that any team wants to be in. What do you think St. Anthony's College can do to overcome this position and make sure that they get the dub tomorrow?
Yeah, look, just focus on the basics, because I really haven't seen St. Anthony's put maybe 3-4 phases together. It's been so erratic, era after era. You know, they've got some exciting players who can play and they want to run, they want to attack. But, you know, if you're going to make mistakes, you just don't have continuity. You can't continue your attack. So they've got to really focus on that. And I feel they've gone backwards. I wouldn't say at a rate or not. It's just that their confidence is pretty poor. But it always comes down to the basics. You've got to get your basics right. So, you know, they really need to look at what they're doing at training, how they are breaking down their training, you know, address their deficiencies, where they're making mistakes, the high error count, where they're giving, you know, silly penalties. So it's going to be another test for them. And I think Dharmaraj, they'll back themselves. They'll relish this opportunity. It's a hometown derby, yet another one. So best, you know, looking at the form line and the balance of probabilities, I will have the Rajans to pip St. Anthony's. But the worrying, I wouldn't say it's the worrying factor. The unknown is, how do these two teams respond to this 1 week break? Maybe this is the break St. Anthony's need, and maybe this is the break which is probably going to undo the Rajans. So we'll wait and see. Because both teams, you know, when they start making mistakes, they're very good at making mistakes. But at the same time, once they get a little bit of confidence and the crowd comes into the equation, who knows what can happen. So for me, it's a bit of unknown on how this break is going to affect them. But Rajans, on the balance of probabilities, I would have them winning, you know, by a short, small margin.
And the final match we have this coming weekend is one that has been absolutely surrounded by a lot of drama. We have Science College taking on Sumangala College. Bo, I know you have a lot of thoughts on this match. I know you have a lot of thoughts behind everything that's going on the scenes. What do you think about this matchup? What do you think about Science College at this moment? What do you think they can do to overcome? I'm sure this is not how they would want to be remembered as a school, as a team. That's not a fun way to be remembered for anyone. What do you think how they can move forward? What do you think is going to happen this weekend as well?
So first of all, I'm happy that they've been allowed to play rugby, because the most important thing is, based on some stupid actions and violent, thuggish actions of a few, penalizing school children is the most absurd thing I can think of. Okay. We had some ridiculous demands come from what I learned, there hasn't even been a proper inquiry into this. You know, I understand the World Rugby judicial process really, really well. I have a lot of experience here, helping out, defending players, being as an expert witness. So I have a very good understanding of what the process is. Okay, so with this whole Science College situation, now I understand they have been sanctioned, and tomorrow, on Sunday, they have to play a game at Police Park. Very ironic, and I'm sure there'll be no shortage of security. Anyone wanting to try and do anything stupid, that's, you know, Police Park is and they probably want to get the head check. But that's a different matter. So they have to play this with no spectators attending. So that is the sanction. Apparently, from what I learned reliably from Science College authorities, and I see they've written a very elegant letter, you know, beautiful grammar, and technically citing Section 17, which is where you have the foul play and sanctions in World Rugby in their rules and regulations. They're 100% correct. They're 100% correct. The sanction which has been given to them is wrong. Is wrong. If there is no proper hearing to start with, because everyone has the right to defend themselves. So for starters, you know, there's got to be a proper hearing. So from what I gather, that hasn't happened. So how can you sanction someone when they don't even get an opportunity to go in front of a hearing? So that's number one. And number two, obviously, there was the number 13 who was given a red card. And there was a purported 6-week suspension. Now, again, once someone is red carded, the process under Regulation 17 is that you have to be cited and you have to have a hearing within 48 hours of the incident. So again, from what I learned, there's been no hearing, but somehow he has been suspended, which again, to me is just ludicrous, which is wrong. So this is all very confusing. So I think it's up to the association to come forward and actually explain themselves. I think Science have every right to be aggrieved. Okay, and of course, think about Sumangala, Summa, because they are now the victims of the unintended consequences. Because the parents of the players, the supporters, this is the first time they're in the A division. They want to come and watch the game. So to me, this is just chaos. Yes, I understand there has to be sanctions, but it's got to be done properly with following due process. So based on the last letter Science have written, I don't think any of that has actually happened. And also, now this is not the first time we have seen violence against referees, okay? I will cite 2 instances. There was once involving St. Joseph's, a player attacked a referee and then ran away. And then, of course, last year we had a female spectator from Trinity who attacked a referee. Now, the bizarre thing is involving these 2 schools, there was, no fallout of this nature and no such demand saying that we're not going to do this. We need the, under 10s or children who haven't even been born who are going to take up rugby and not going to. So to me, it's all double standards. And I can't help feel a little bit aggrieved for Science because they are not one of the more influential schools. They're not one of the top tier schools. So I feel like they're just being a little bit bullied here for whatever perceived status they hold. And I dare say, and no one else will say this, I will say this because I always like to think that I speak without fear or favor. To me, this reeks of a little bit of classism, because Science are, not one of the top. Because now imagine if Science had to play Royal or St. Peter's, Royal, my old school. Do you honestly think that that game would go ahead without any spectators? I doubt that very much because it involves so much. So I want to get this out in the open, and I'm not trying to point fingers at anyone. I'm just frustrated that due process and common sense hasn't prevailed, and arbitrary sanctions are being thrown out. Yes, there has to be sanctions, but we can't bypass the due process. And Science earlier in the week clearly, spelled everything out in a letter and then named the culprits. Okay, and it's not up to them or any association to punish them. That is the least which has to happen. It's up to the police to make sure criminal charges are pressed. And I don't think anyone has to interfere with that. So with all this in the backdrop, I just find that it's very unfair. And I'm probably the only one who's going to speak out about this because, I heard a lot of so-called experts saying that, this violence unleashed on the referees has been unprecedented. No, absolutely not. This has been a build-up of violence and verbal abuse of the referees for the last, 10, 12 years, and there hasn't been proper consequence to the idiots who have resorted to the violence. Okay, single the perpetrators and the crooks and punish them, but don't punish schoolboys and a school as a whole, because it just doesn't make any sense. So I just thought I'd get that off my chest, get it out there, because no one seems to be sticking out for the small guys. I feel very strongly about this. The point I'm trying to reiterate is whatever sanctions happen, there's got to be a proper hearing, and you've got to follow due process. You can't arbitrarily hand things out, and you can't enforce emotions. It's got to go on evidence. So I know I've said a lot, but that's how I feel about this. And hopefully these boys can go out and play some rugby tomorrow. And I feel very, very much for particularly the parents of the players. You know, I'm a parent myself. I have both my kids playing junior sport, and you know, nothing gives me more pride than going and watching them play weekend sport. So my heart goes out particularly to the parents. I empathize, and of course the true diehard fans, and there's so many. And I know a lot of fans, true diehard fans from both sides of the spectrum tomorrow. So have a great game, enjoy it. And the good news is, I suppose the 𝐕𝐵𝐴 ratings will go through the roof. I'm very grateful for 𝐕𝐵𝐴 for allowing us to use the footage as well. So hopefully that covers this whole situation, and hopefully people who are in positions making these calls actually listen to this, listen to what has been said, and please follow due process. Okay, don't just arbitrarily come up with things because you have to appease the gallery or someone else. Just don't do that. That's just wrong. There you go.
Yes. Now we'll hear more about this when I hand over to my co-host 𝐺𝐺𝐻𝐵𝐴 𝐵𝐴𝐴. But before I hand over the proceedings to him, we have another question on our Facebook Live. I think Boa would want to answer this as well because it comes from, once again, Lankan Sport Junkies. What do you think about the forward performance of Royal? They had it hard against Wesley's smaller forwards compared to Peter Wright's bigger forwards. Dangerous backs, nice match in the making, isn't it? His main basis is that the Royal Maul was not working today.
Oh, it certainly was. This is what happens when you have, it's the off week. I put it on that. And in the first half, I think Royal were very, very poor. They were forwards, they'd be embarrassed. Made too many errors. They didn't really play in the right part of the field. And I think they were just in cruise control. They just took a little bit easy, probably the body language. But soon as they got a little bit of rhythm and they realized they were in a little bit of a fight after that first half, they must have been given a good solid talking to by Coach 𝐊𝐿𝐿𝐿. They started putting some phases together. They started imposing their physicality. And of course, all credit to Wesley, who came, ready to combat that up front. But had Wesley recycled the ball a little bit faster at the breakdown, I think they could have made a bit more of a match. Royal would have eventually won anyway. But, this is what happens when you have the odd break. It just breaks that momentum and rhythm going forward. So Royal will be happy that they got the win, but not very happy about that first half performance because that was just really poor. But they did show glimpses, I thought, once they really wanted to flex their muscles. And, Royal are very good at flexing when they want to, on demand. And, they move forward to next week. But Wesley, you've just got to work on your fitness. That last quarter, it kind of faded away because you just couldn't hack it with these big boys. That's where the intensity, the strength and conditioning. And if you look at both sides, I don't want to be too critical because these are school boys, but you can clearly see which team is the more conditioned, which is the stronger, which can actually bring the physicality and the heat. So junkies, thank you. Love your questions. Keep them coming.
Okay, Boa, that's it from me for now. But I'm sure my co-host 𝐺𝐺𝐻𝐵𝐴𝐴 𝐵𝐴𝐴 would have an absolute buttload of questions to ask you. So 𝐺𝐺𝐻, the stage is all yours, macha.
All right, thank you so much, Shabin. Hello, Boa. Hello, everyone joining in live to the Rugby Show. A bit of an unusual surrounding for me. I'm having a small makeshift moment where I'm currently not in my usual location, but the show must go on. So, as you may know, I'm pretty excited for tomorrow, particularly Trinity versus Wesley Patana. Today we had Royal, Wesley, a nail-biting first half, and more so than ever, rugby is back. And Quadrangle is one of those media outlets where we focus not only on the game as a whole, but also what makes that game so special. And that's why Quadrangle focuses on the spirit of the game, a concept that Quadrangle has grown from the inception of this as a media corporation. to uplift the game and uphold the values that make the great game what it is today. So, this segment we'll talk with Boa about the spirit of the game and what we really expect from each and every one of the players, as well as the spectators, as well as everyone surrounding the rugby community. How do we make sure that the rugby season that has already been interrupted and been marred by so much of controversy, how do we get it back on the right track, and how do we make it the so-called respectable and gentleman type game that we've been playing so far? So, Boa, my first question is: so we've seen a lot of talk going around regarding refereeing, and there are a lot of social circles forming around. There's a lot of social commentary going on regarding refereeing and the science college issue and all of this. What do you make out of this? Do you think people should really listen to this, or do you think that people should really enjoy the game?
Yeah, look, first of all, end of the day, this is a game of rugby played amongst school children. So let's keep some perspective on that, right? I mean, having to resort to extreme violence, and look, this only applies to a very small minority of thugs who have to be removed from the game. By and large, most people are peaceful fans, and within that, I think there needs to be a little bit more control of emotions as well, because obviously we see a lot of people yelling and screaming, particularly at the referees. So it's just a game. It's just a game, and end of the day, there's more to life than trying to get overly emotional and trying to be overly invested emotionally in a game of schoolboy rugby. I do empathize and I understand why some people would feel that way, but you've got to take things in the right spirit. Sometimes things might not necessarily go your way. Sometimes it does. And you've got to learn to accept victory and defeat. That's number one. So that's going to be easy. Sorry, I beg your pardon. That's not going to be easy because, different people will react to different emotions in different ways. Okay. And the second thing is, we as a rugby community, we have to actually start living this culture where I know a lot of people say, respect this, respect that. It's only a game, blah, blah, blah. But actually start living that culture. Don't just talk it. Actions speak louder. So I think from a spectator point of view, if we start doing that, this process is going to be a lot easier. Okay. And from the other side of the coin, obviously with the referees, they get paid for this. Okay. And of course there's a big segment of people who are heavily invested in this game because there's a lot of money coming into this, the competition, the sponsors. So people are heavily invested, both emotionally and financially. So there has to be a return on this investment. So the most important thing is, I think both sides of the equation need to start talking to each other a lot better and get some clarity on some minimum standards, right? And once those minimum standards are consistently met, so I'm talking about from the referee's point of view, don't worry about all these really complex rules which most people don't even understand or know. Just get the simple stuff right. The forward passes, the knock-ons, the clear penalties. Just get the simple stuff right. And once people start seeing that, we're going to start seeing a flow to the game, which is going to make it easy to follow. Okay. And then once the spectators get their side of the equation right, I think we're going to start seeing a lot more harmony, and people will be more forgiving and accepting of things. Okay. So I think that's where everything needs to kind of fit together and gel together. And from the referee's point of view, obviously they have to set high standards for themselves, and that's where the training, learning, and education comes into it. Now, the one thing I want to talk about is, soon as anyone starts talking about this, and when you start talking about standards, there's this misconception and misinterpretation that somehow someone will justify whatever actions. let me be very clear. Any sort of verbal or physical violence against the referees is simply unacceptable. We know that. Okay. So if there is any segment out there wanting to justify, if you know anyone like that, shut that down straight away. End of the day, these referees are humans. They have families just like all of us, so they deserve to go home safely. So I think we just got to get, everyone's sort of got to talk to each other, and the stakeholders need to get their act together. And there's got to be proper dialogue on how we take this thing forward.
Definitely, bro. I think one of the main lessons that we have to take away from this weekend is no matter whether we win or lose, no matter what the result is, I think rugby is a game that's synonymous with respect. I remember back in 2007, All Blacks versus France in the World Cup quarterfinal. All Blacks basically France go into the semi-finals off of a forward pass that was misconceived by the referee. But I didn't see, or neither of us saw any of the players or anyone actually going and confronting the referee. The referee himself came and clarified the situation, and it was an understandable circumstance. Now, in such a high-stakes game, if that is their respect and that is how they conduct themselves, I think that speaks volumes. And so far, I think we had Mr. 𝐻𝑊 speak last week as well about how rugby referees are also part of the game, and they shouldn't be viewed as these outsiders to the game, or they don't want to harm the game. All they're trying to do is they're trying to better the game. And human error is something that no one can stop. It happens through players. It can cost you games. It can win you games. But the same thing can apply to the referees. And I believe what we as Quadrangle want to portray through the spirit of the game is rugby, or rather any sport, builds around respect. And we believe that spectators, players, and each and every one of you who are watching in today or is hearing this from somewhere around the world, we want to see that respect being restored. I'm not saying that it has been lost, but we can all agree that respect is not at the level, or not at the level that we intend to see. And it was a sad week for schools rugby in Sri Lanka, but we definitely don't want history repeating itself. Definitely not a second time in the same season. So I believe Boa's words are absolutely critical in terms of how they are part of the game, and whoever who wants to justify those acts are clearly not lovers of the game, but just pure haters of what rugby really stands for. But secondly, Boa, we wanted to sort of focus on how players themselves, the confrontation that players can take around. I think there has been a lot of misconception and also surrounded the yellow card at the 𝐼cy Patana game. We all know who can speak to the referee and who can't speak to the referee. But a lot of spectators, they believe that players have the right to confront themselves in front of the referee. Would you want to clarify what really happens in the middle of the field and what exactly goes behind that decision? Because I feel like that's been a big talking point in the rugby arena as of recent.
Yeah, so, usually what happens is there's one designated person who talks to the referee, and that's the captain. So if there's any clarification, skipper will talk to the referee. Now, 99.99% of all rugby players I know, and most I have coached, are very respectful of coaches, beg your pardon, of referees, and they will ask the question in a very respectful manner, and I think the referee then will come back, hopefully in a respectful manner. Now, I know some referees are very strict around what sort of chatter they have, and some referees they chatter a lot. So it's just getting the balance right, really, And some of the worst offenders on the field, particularly talking to referees, are halfbacks. Halfbacks love to back chat to referees, But again, that's beside the point. So the most important thing, as far as the problem we are dealing with this, all the stakeholders, particularly the coaches, the referees, the players, the captains, we've got to have a constructive dialogue where everyone is clear with what and how. To me, it's that simple. So what happened in the 𝐿𝐴𝐴 game where there were 2 yellow cards. Look, that was straight out. That was wrong. What happened was wrong, and then to be issued with 2 yellow cards. So this is where I speak about the standards of the referees, where they clearly have to do better. Okay, and that has to be addressed, and that's where the learning, the training, and development of referees come into. You got to learn from it. From a spectator point of view, I mean, I'll relate to my experience as a coach. I mean, initially when I got into coaching at senior level, I used to get very upset with some referee decisions which didn't go my team's way. But, I had to take it in my stride. And then as I got older and wiser, what I'd usually do is, if something doesn't go my way, I just take a deep breath, because there's nothing I can do. I mean, if I run into the middle of the field and argue with the referee, he or she is not going to turn that decision the other way around. It's just not going to happen. Just take a deep breath. End of the day, it's a game. Depending on the level of the game and what's at stake, obviously, the stakes get higher. Now, you mentioned 2007, the quarterfinal. Wayne Barnes, who I think is one of the worst referees out there. That's my personal opinion, and I'll own that. And we saw him in the 2000, last year's World Cup final as well. And I'll let everyone out there decide whether he was good or bad. But the reason I bring the World Cup here is because that's the pinnacle of elite performance. People's careers, livelihoods, sponsorships are on the line. So this is a schoolboy game. So let's get a little bit of perspective. If a decision doesn't go your way, take a deep breath. Just let it go. It's like Frozen. Let it go. As far as the refereeing and standards, that has to be addressed in a proper manner where there is fact and there is proper dialogue. So that's on the referees. They can't bury their head under the sand, which is what I think a lot of people are frustrated at. Okay, so hopefully that gives everyone a bit of perspective and clarity.
Indeed, Boa. And regarding this whole issue that has been going around in the recent week or so, I think another big, rather contagion in the rugby arena is information and how it's being shared. It's being shared around. Now, information of such a sensitive act in and of itself has a lot of implications. So the spirit of the game also lies in knowing what's right and always supporting and backing the game. But I feel like sensationalization and trying to get your opinion out, no matter whether it's right or wrong, has been something that's been widespread as of past. So how do we address this whole misinformation? We've been hearing that science will be banned science college will be banned for 3 years, right? Basically, foreign referees will become in Sri Lanka. They're parts of conversations, but they're not concrete facts. So what do you think about this misinformation and basically wrong information being circulated without any conclusion?
Sounds like mainstream media during the COVID times, misinformation and disinformation. Okay, look, guys, I'm not going to get into that. Look, the reality is there's a big demand for this competition. People are literally clamoring over each other, wanting to get a piece of the action. So the administrators who have been tasked to run this have to be very clear and concise with the communication and information. If they are not, then all these hearsay stories get made up, and then that turns A into B into multiplies into 16-fold, and then everyone makes up their own mind. So I think that's number one. Okay, and number two, people don't be afraid to openly discuss these things. The problem here is particularly online, there's all these fake profiles and all these people coming and throwing stones and wanting to stir things up. And of course, it's public forum, so that's to be expected. But there's got to be a constructive discussion around this so that eventually it will lead to concrete action. Okay, so hopefully that's what we are doing at the moment, because particularly my Facebook group, we have some great discussions going on. I ask certain questions, and there's some very intelligent answers coming through. So I think that needs to happen. There needs to be more engagement, and the stakeholders, the referees, they need to be prepared to engage. And sometimes, it's okay to say, look, we got something wrong. It's perfectly all right. That's perfectly human-like to get things wrong, and you learn from it. So to me, those are some of the key issues. But most importantly, the people, the administrators, they have to be very forthcoming with the information and don't withhold information. That's when rumors start, and that's when all this disinformation gets out, and next thing you know, it's like lockdown.
Yeah, that's pretty important, Boa, because it's a sensitive situation as we are in right now. And to get out of this deadlock and to get out of this uncertainty, I believe communication is pretty important in whatever you do in life, and rugby is no different. So our invitation to all of the fans is to uphold the spirit of the game, be it through respect, integrity, or basically enjoying the game, because at the end of the day, rugby is a sport where one team has to win and the other team has to lose. And on a very fine day, it would be a draw. But ultimately, rugby is a source of enjoyment. It's like a religion to a lot of us, where we enjoy the sport, we enjoy the passion that we have for our schools, our clubs, and the game as a whole. Speaking of sports, and tomorrow being one of the most disappointing weekends for me personally, because there's just too much of sport, exciting sport happening. Let's take the schools rugby example. For example, we have Trinity versus 𝐶𝑠, DS taking on St. Thomas's. Then we go to the international arena. We have New Zealand All Blacks taking on England in their second test. We have Ireland against South Africa. We have the Euros. We have James Anderson's final day of a test match. Boa, just tell me how you're going to be handling your day tomorrow, watching all of these games back to back.
It's going to be a very, very long day for me. Early morning, I wake up. I have my kids' zone sport, and then I have to attend. Tomorrow is playoff weekend for Auckland Club Rugby competition. So I have to go and watch a couple of games, and then from there, I might be heading over to Eden Park, watch that game, and then probably come back home, and then start watching all the local games for the first 15 competition. So it's probably going to be a pretty full-on 24 hours. But I love it. We are only here for a short time. We're not going to be here forever. So I love trying to make the most of it. But usually Saturdays during rugby season is pretty full-on. But in a strange sort of way, I'm absolutely looking forward to being involved in rugby from start to finish.
Indeed, Boa. And now this is not my formality, so I'm going to get the person behind this to, do the proceedings. Otherwise, it just doesn't feel right. Which is Boa speaks. Boa in the hot seat, so I'll get back Shavin so that he can take over the proceedings and end the show today. Thank you very much for joining in on Quadrangle. We'll end today's proceedings with Boa's hot picks taken up by Shavin.
Yes, thank you, Basa. We had a long show today. We had a lot to discuss about. But I think it's time we end the show with one of the favorite parts of my week, for sure, where we ask Boa his picks of the upcoming weekend. We had Wesley College take on Royal College, obviously Royal College coming out on top. Next, we have tomorrow, Isipatana College taking on Trinity College. Boa, your pick?
Isipatana by less than 7.
Okay. Next, we have St. Thomas's College, Mount Lavinia taking on the Dons, DS and Anaika.
I'm going with the DS Dons. I think very exciting team. It's going to be a close tussle because, again, the off week. But I think DS will get home by less than 5 points.
Next, we have St. Peter's College hosting St. Joseph's College for the Reverend Father Basil Veeratunga Trophy. Who do you see walking away with the trophy?
Clash of the Mountain Goats. It's going to be a classic derby. the favorite against, a team who can throw their weight around. I think St. Peter's might get tested a little bit. That first half, I think St. Joseph's will be right amongst it, but the superior firepower out wide will eventually get through. I am tipping St. Peter's to eventually have some degree of comfort to win by less than 12 points.
Okay, next we have Zahira College taking on the Tigers, Boa Athu College.
Yeah, I'm going with the Tigers, the most bullish and most, most extravagant team. Particularly the off-field support has been tremendous. I think Boa Athu by less than 10 points.
Okay, another do-or-die match. Kings of College taking on Thurston College.
Yeah, look, this I think it's going to be a very, very exciting game. Two teams on struggle street, but you've got to go with the team who's been in the A division. I think it's going to be a lot closer than anticipated. Somewhere in the vicinity of 7 to 10 points. Kingswood to finally win a game after what seemed like an eternity. But don't discount Thurston. I think they will come ready for a big fight. And they'll put one up on the field. That's the key. Fight on the field. Not literally, but in spirit.
Okay. Next, we have another Hill Country derby. We have Dharmaraja College taking on St. Anthony's College.
I think Rajan's going to prolong St. Anthony's misery. It's going to be a close game. Rajan's by less than 5 points.
And then the final match for the weekend, we have Science College taking on Sri Sumangala College.
Yeah, look, for me, I absolutely adore both teams. I think Science, probably the experience and intensity. It's going to be a close game. Science by less than 10 points. But Sumangala will fire some shots as well. They're very innovative. They're very creative. They like to try new things. So it's going to be a very exciting game. And I think it'll be very hard fought in the middle. But it'll be played in an excellent spirit.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it from the man himself, the statspert, Boa Athu. I think we can call it a day and have a good weekend. Go out, enjoy these matches, and remember to protect the spirit of the game that we all love. Boa, thank you. It's been an absolute honor having you here with us today, and we'll see you again next week. Good night, ladies and gentlemen.
Take care. Pleasure's all mine. Over and out.
Hey, have you heard about Z?
𝐊𝐿𝐴
Easy.
Mobile banking.
Crazy.
Education loans and salary advances.
Amazing.
Introducing the Digital Youth Account. NDBZ. NDBZ from NDB Bank. The future is banking on us.
Creamy richness redefined. Smooth, soft, spreadable. Introducing Ultra Soft Fondre with canola and sunflower oil.
We search the world for the finest things for you. Things like sun-kissed European berries, rich chocolate from the world's best cocoa fields, and crisp cashews and fluffy marshmallows in a quirky Australian recipe.
𝐊𝐿𝐴 experience the world.
හැමදේම අතළඟ තියෙද්දි දුක් විඳින්නේ ඇයි?
Hey, have you heard about Z?
𝐊𝐴
Easy. Mobile banking.
Crazy.